Hey guys, what's up? This is Alex2K, and today we're talking about setting up image planes and the camera's location to match a reference image. From photo search, I got this reference. It's gonna help us to more or less get the idea of what we're talking about. Now, a lot of times this takes a lot of thought to just try and figure out how things are working. Now, I got this image because it's low quality. It has a lot of things that makes you guess, so it gives you a little bit more of a thought process. I also selected it to be vertical rather than horizontal because it's probably a little bit different to set up an image plane and all the settings of Maya to match a vertical image rather than a horizontal image. Horizontal image is pretty straightforward. It's all about aspect ratio, so you figure out the aspect ratio width divided by height, and that aspect ratio is the aspect ratio of the camera's film gate and of the render settings. So we got this image, and we're gonna start with just looking at the image size. So we know that it's 200 by 300 pixels. So with that information, we come here into Maya and we're gonna make a camera. Now, the best type of camera you should create is a camera and aim. It gives you more control because the camera can pivot, always looking at the aim. The aim can pivot, the camera is always gonna look at it. And if you arrow up, you can go into the group and you can change the twist so that you can control some attributes of that as well. Now, some images are harder to set up. They're just tougher. Some are easier. This one I got it because the setup is probably not so hard, but it still has some thought into it. So anyway, once you have your camera created, you can open up the attribute and go into the environment option of the camera. And on that environment, you'll see an option that says image plane. So you just hit create. And once it's created, under type you got image type or image file or texture. We're going to do an image file, and we're going to map that reference plate. Now, once we do that, there it is right there, but there's a lot of inconsistencies right now. Fit to resolution, fit to film gate is not going to do anything right now, but the aspect ratio of this image is 200 divided by 300. So let's see how much that is. To calculator. 200 divided by 300 is 0.666667. I know, yeah, it was taken from the side, but that's not what we want here. So 0.66667. So the first thing we need to do here is let's look through that camera, and if we open up the camera's attributes, you'll see that under display options right there, you can display the film gate and you can also display the resolution. Now right now, if I show the film gate, you can barely see anything. There's a option underneath, it's called overscan. So if you take that value higher, it gives you some overscan past the film gate or the resolution gate, and this allows us to see that's our film gate right there. That's our image plane. What we want is our film gate to be exactly there where the borders are of this image. So let's show the film gate, and let's change the camera's film gate to something that's not one of the presets. You go up into the film gate, you see it sets user. In this case, we're just going to do that number, 0.6666667. And there we go. So now that film gate, this white dotted line, is going right along the edges of the image. Let's increase our overscan to 3. And you can see it there. So if I show it and hide it, you can see the image, the film gate is right on the edges. Now the resolution, it's sucky, it's not working there. So what we need to do is we also need to set our resolution settings to match those dimensions of the image. So let's go into the render settings, and on the common tab we just go down, and we're going to start with the same number of the actual reference, 200 by 300, because if we do that, then we can maintain width and height ratio and then increase this value to, I don't know, 500 by whatever is going to adjust, and it matches perfectly. I'm going to keep it at 200 by 300 for now. Now, we got this, we got that, so everything's matching. Now, as far as create, once you got everything matching perfectly, you can always double check if everything's matching by clicking on image plane and fitting it to the resolution and the film gate. And if it doesn't move, then it means you're on good track. So what's next? Once we got our camera setup, is one of the things that you might have to compensate. I'm not gonna say always, but you might have to compensate is for the focal length of the camera. Most pictures are taken with a 35mm lens, but if it's a wider image, such as like an architectonical type of picture where you can really see like a wide lens, then that's gonna be a lesser number. And if it's more of a telephoto image, then it's going to be a bigger number, such as an 80 or 120 and whatever. So anyway, we got this camera set up, so the rest of the stuff for this image is going to be pretty straightforward. We're going to start by creating a poly plane. And I'm just going to frame to it. And whenever you're laying out, just avoid rotating the geometry. Unless the actual geometry is rotated, like if it's tilted down or something, then rotate it. But otherwise, just avoid it. The idea is that you rotate and tumble the camera and not the geometry. So we're just going to tumble the camera just to get some of the main lines there to line up. And once we get it lined up, then we can begin to move forward. And there we go. So you can see that this edge is lining up, and this edge is lining up with that, and so is with that, and so is this edge with that. So pretty much we're on good track. So once we got this, now we can go ahead and create ourselves a ball bearing or a ball thingy. So I'm just going to create a polysphere here. And now that I'm looking at it, my scale's kind of like sucky, so I'm actually going to select this floor and scale it 30 units. There we go. Now just because things line up, let's suppose that I did, I don't know, suppose that I did this, right? Just because I think that they line up on the wireframe mode doesn't mean they actually line up. See what's going on? They're intersecting. So you gotta make sure, I can change the pivot and set it up to there. So you gotta make sure that the objects are resting on the right place, and they're not like intersecting each other. And from there on, we can just move the camera to get the right angle here. And let's just see if that's lining up. Yep. And let's just scale this a little bit bigger. And pretty much there we go. So it's a pretty simple setup in this case, but that's the main thing behind it. That's what really you want to do. If sometimes, see, actually I set it up to 75 accidentally, the focal length of this camera, and it worked like a charm. Probably if I had at 35, I would be struggling, still trying to line it up. So anyway, I hope that helped. And I'll see you with the next tutorial. Have a good one. Bye bye.